Welcome guys to another video on NIKKE Goddess of Victory. Now in today's video, what I'm going to be doing is talking about two particular limited units that I believe need to get a buff or revamp because they are limited characters, and from what we saw from the patch note, they are actually going to be adding their own events. So the events we got with those characters, they're going to be adding them in the archive section. However, I've seen a bunch of speculations as well regarding whether we're going to get a rerun for those banners. Now, if we are going to be getting a rerun, I will have to say that they do need to buff those characters, because honestly, the banners will not do well. If they do not buff up those two characters, they will not be doing well in terms of sales. They are only characters that just look nice but don't actually perform well in game, so essentially useless characters. Now there is one of those characters actually very useful in PvP, but honestly there is other greater characters or better characters you would use over that unit. So let's talk about that in today's video. Hopefully you guys like this video. Stay tuned for more content on NIKKE Goddess of Victory. If you guys don't want to miss out on future content on the game, make sure you are subscribed and make sure that post notification is on. Help me out. Let's go ahead and try and get 60 likes in today's video. You guys are absolutely amazing, so let's go ahead and smash that. Anyways, going over to the two characters we're talking about, we have Winter Annie, or Annie, what's the name for the characters? Literally, I haven't spoken about his characters in a while. So we have Miracle Fairy Annie, or Anne, I can't really pronounce the character's name. And then we also have Winter Rupee as well, the most forgotten character in the game. Now I do believe this character actually got a buff in the past, because I think they buffed up something about the skills, but honestly did not improve anything. She is actually the most forgotten character in the game. I have heard that people still use her in some content, but like, why would you use her when there's other better burst 1 characters to use? I don't know. So yeah, let's first talk about Miracle Fairy Anne, or Annie, not Anne. So with this character over here, she is actually the only one out of those two that I believe is actually useful, and the only content you pretty much use this character in is in PvP. However, I have taken a look at the skills and I can already see major issues with the skills, and that is why it's stopping her from being actually useful in PvE. And the only way you would actually use this character is PvP, but even then I still see an issue with her as well. So let's talk about it. So with her, as you can see, she has 2 passive and 1 active skill. So first passive over here, affects all support allies, activates after 3 normal attack. She is a rocket launcher or missile character, right? Okay, how long is it going to take for 3 hits? If you're doing fast shooting, it's not going to be that long to do that. Basically, after every 3 hits, basically support allies will basically recover HP. However, the issue with this is it's only to support allies. This is going to be good for support allies. However, let's not forget your team also consists of attackers, and your attackers are the main ones you need to protect. So this skill does not help them out. So essentially, only really good to help your support allies survive. So this is where it actually becomes pretty good in PvP. Because your burst 1 and burst 2 are usually your supporters, so ensuring that they can actually gain some HP and making sure that they survive is actually going to be very important. So actually this first skill is going to be good for PvP, but in PvE not too good, or not as good, sorry. So second skill over here, affects all allies, activates when above 90% HP. This I don't really like, because in PvP, when enemies are dealing damage to you, you're gonna not be above 90% in like 10 seconds. So this HP potency is nice, but it's only gonna help you for like 5 seconds when you enter the match in PvP, and after that you basically lose that on this passive. The passive is good, but not for that, above 90%. So if they want to buff up this character, that 90% needs to be going down all the way to like 70%. So when activates when above 70% the HP potency, then I would think this is actually very, very good. And then the second one, activates when the last bullet hit the target while having over 90% HP. So with her, what is the ammo count? So she has 6 ammo count. Every 3 hits she basically recovers HP for your supporters, but basically if the enemy is over 90% of HP, you basically reduce the HP potency by 55%, which is actually very, very good. But once again, if you have other like attackers in your team and the damage for the enemies is higher, that would not be proccing that often actually. However, and also don't forget, this is last hit, so not going to be that like as OP as they sound, because honestly, if you basically reduce the 90% to like 80%, 70%, it would be a lot better. But the last bullet is also another issue, because 6 ammo, unless the AI is firing as fast as possible, you're not going to be able to really effectively dish out this passive to the enemy. So another issue with her. And then the burst skill, which has major issue with, is with the cooldown being 60 seconds, which instantly removes her from being very good in PvE. And then in PvP, only really recovers HP of attackers, which, like I said, just focusing on one character specific units is not really going to be that helpful. However, this is still good for your attackers to make sure that they can actually survive. And it also buffs up the attack by a further 54%. However, we have an issue with that simply because not only attack buff doesn't only help the attackers, it also helps up the support units as well as defensive units. Actually, mainly it's just support units. Some supportive units actually buff up based on their own attack, so this would actually be very, very good for support characters as well, but it's only relegated to the attack allies instead, so a little bit of an issue with that. However, she does have the ability to resurrect one attack ally, so yeah, only an attack ally. So she's actually very specific to actually activate all of this skill, or to have all of this skill proc. She's heavily specific. Only attack allies can be basically revived, and only attack allies can be buffed with this HP, and only attack allies can be buffed with this attack buff. And then the support allies can only be recovered with the HP. So I feel like they should just make it all allies, and instantly she will be a major good character. And then moving over to the most forgotten character in the game, we have Winter Rupee, which I feel like the issue with her is the fact that she does not, I think she taunts, right? She does taunt. Let's see. Yeah, she does have the ability to taunt. The issue is that she just does not tank that. The issue with most of the tankers in the game with the taunt ability is that they don't have any skills to really mitigate the damage being done to them. And she does have the ability to buff up her defense, but defense is absolutely trash in this game. So only damage resistance will be great. So if they want to make this character a lot better, then they definitely need to either increase the defense percentage from, okay, this is at level 1, so basically increase this to like 20% from level 1, and I think that would be pretty decent. Max 50% probably, then I would say that's actually pretty decent, pretty good. So activates with the last bullet, hits the target, affects all allies, which is basically increased defense by this amount. 50% in my opinion would be very good. And then skill number 2, affect all allies, activates when any ally unit uses burst. Basically the defense is increased, stack up to 4 times, and last for 20 seconds. Again, increase the percentage value for the defense, and honestly this character will be very good. Affect all allies, activates when a caster reaches max stack of shopping at the end of the burst. Basically burst gauge filling squad. I think this is the main reason why people still use her if they are using her, which is the burst gauge filling speed. However, I feel like what issue would she have? I think the cooldown would be an issue. She doesn't have a way to reduce the cooldown of her burst skill. Actually, that could be an issue with this burst gauge filling speed. However, we can use some burst 2 characters that do help with the reduction of the cooldown of the burst skill. But in general, I do think her skills are good. The only real issue is the percentage value for the defense buff. And then going over to the burst skill, taunt all enemies for 5 seconds. She dies when she does that, honestly. But she has the ability to recover HP as well. And for all allies, increase the reload speed by 20%, which is pretty good. So like I said, in general, I do think this character is actually very good, but in terms of the skills, but the only issue is the percentage value. So they definitely need to just buff that up, and she would be a useful character in general. She also has the very unique ability to be to re-enter the burst skill. There's only one other character we know that can do that, and that is the recently released is it Tia? I think Tia is the one that can do that as well. So yeah, I do think both those characters need to get buffed instantly, and I do hope they do a rerun, because one of my major issue with NIKKE is the fact that they use FOMO to fuel people spending in this game. Once a character is released, there is not going to be a rerun for that banner, but they do get added into the standard banner. But still, you're fighting against other SSR characters. There is a lot of SSR characters in this game, so the odds of pulling that character you missed out on is quite low. So yeah, NIKKE basically works by using FOMO to coerce people to literally spend in the game, and once the banner goes away, you're pretty much screwed. So especially with limited characters, we have characters that we essentially can't get until they get added into, until they do a rerun. So we have limited characters that literally won't be added into the standard banner, and you can't get them once the banner goes away, which sucks for newer players as well, because if you've missed out on some of the best limited characters in the game, you literally can't get them. So I do think it is important they do reruns for the limited units every season. So if a character was released during the summer season, they should do a rerun in the summer season next year. So with Winter, Rupee, and Winter, Annie as well, I do think both of them need to get a rerun right now, and they both need to be buffed, because essentially no one will summon for them, because they are both characters that essentially will not be used, even if you get them. As you can see, the only one I really use is, I actually don't use her. The reason why she's still at level 263 is because she was my first few SSR characters to get MLB, so she's pretty much locked in here. I can't reduce the I can't reduce the level. If I had the opportunity to, I would remove her from the synchro, but she's locked in there, so it's impossible. Anyways, that is it for the video, guys. Stay tuned for more content on NIKKE Goddess of Victory. I will be making a lot more videos on the game, so make sure you are subscribed and make sure that post notification is on. It's been your boy AC Gamer, and I'm out.